Queen.
I'm actually gonna pass it to my sister after we.
Okay, so y'all set me up.
No.
Go ahead.
All right, Dr. Umar, my name is Diane, resident here in Kansas City, and I am one of those ugly black feminists that you are not a fan of. So I appreciate you coming here to Kansas City, and I figure if I'm going to have something to say, I'm going to say it to your face. So I do appreciate you addressing my concerns regarding anti-LGBT rhetoric and anti-feminist rhetoric. So I appreciate you saying that up front. So my question is, the exact definition of hate speech is speech that offends, threatens, insults groups based on race, color, religion, natural origin, sexual orientation, disability, or other traits. That is the definition of hate speech. We can say all day long that we don't hate a particular type of person, but I want to know, how is that rhetoric any different than white folks that say that black people are thugs, are mentally not together, that we are unintelligent? How is it possible? How is that not different as a black man saying that black feminists are ugly, saying that queer people are, you said it earlier, I can see you on tape. How is that different than saying that gay people are molested, that we are pedophiles? How is that any different than white people? He has said that online, and I have the video. Yes, you have. No, you did say that online.
I was accused and derided, as some of you guys know, because of my position on sexual confusion in the African American community. And I understand we may have a few visitors tonight, and I don't mind, okay, of that community. And so I think it's important that I clarify my perspective on black homosexuality and lesbianism so that we're all crystal clear on where I stand. Yes, it is true, I do not support it. Yes, it is true, I do not condone it. But it is absolutely false if anyone says that Dr. Umar Johnson hates any of our brothers and sisters who practice a traditional lifestyle, a non-traditional form of marriage.
Right, so my question is, how is this anti-woman, anti-gay rhetoric any different than white folks who say that black people are dumb, that we're thugs? Homophobia is hate speech, and anti-womanness is hate speech.
Okay. May I respond?
You can.
All right. Now, first, we got to take the emotionalism out of it. We're going to be able to dialogue. Okay? I'm going to respond, but for the sake of time, I'm going to answer everybody's question. And if you like, when I'm done, me and you can have a private, respectful conversation. Okay? Now, okay, well, let me do this one. I'm going to go through, then we can come back to it if you want to have that conversation. Number one, and because I got ADHD, I didn't remember everything, but I think I could get to most of the highlights of what you said. First, you said homophobia.
Oh, you're going to tell me that it's a mental illness from an outdated DSM-3 that was abolished in 1973? Don't try it.
That's like history.
This is not the
DSM-5?
This is the DSM-5.
Oh, then we're mentally ill. Go ahead. I just want to hear you answer the question.
And I'm going to be respectful to you, okay? I didn't pick this up to talk about the fact that homosexuality was a mental illness in this book until 1974. But since you brought it up, I'll start with that. If you read the American Psychiatric Association position paper on the removal of homosexuality from this book as a mental illness, and I have it, it's available online, it clearly says that we did not change this classification because we had sufficient evidence to prove that people were born this way. So one of the questions that got to be dealt with from the Eurocentric mental health framework that we're dealing with this issue in, why was it removed? Now, having said that, I picked up the book to ask you on what page is the mental illness homophobia.
It's not a mental illness. It's a disease, just like racism is a disease.
Who defined homophobia as a disease? This is the authority of mental illness. Where is the diagnosis homophobia?
It's not a diagnosis. It's a state of being. It's a state of being.
Phobia.
It's a state
phobia. A phobia
Okay.
is in this book.
Okay, so hate
And
speech
a
against gay
phobia,
people.
let me,
Okay.
phobia is fear. Simple phobia, any type of claustrophobia, it's a fear. You said homophobia. I'm not afraid of nobody. I've been asked by homosexuals and lesbians to have conversations with them on their radio shows. I normally accept the invitation for respectful dialogue. I don't run from the opportunity if it's going to be respectful. Now, I stand by my position as a psychologist, as an educator, as a therapist for normally 20 years. And in 95% of the cases of gay and lesbians I personally know and met and worked with, most of them were victims of sexual abuse as children. I'm speaking not what some white person wrote in some research study. I'm telling you what I know. Amongst black folk, it is a pathology born of childhood sexual victimization. Denial is at the root of all mental illness. It's easy to say I was born like this, so I don't have to deal with the pain that triggered it. Now, I never said that because you are gay, you want to prey on children sexually. Now, do you have a strong case of homosexuals and lesbians who prey on children? Look at the Roman Catholic Church. We don't have to debate whether or not folks who are sexually confused, who may also prefer children. But am I going to wholesale indict the whole population and say because you're gay you want to molest children? I've never said that. I've never said that, and I never will say that. I'm very responsible with my words. Now, you drew a comparison that I wouldn't disagree with. You said, how is me disagreeing with homosexuality, how is that any different from the white man saying black folks was dumb and stupid and this and that? You know what the difference is? That was lies about us. That could be proven. You're wrong. I don't denigrate or downgrade black gays and lesbians. Why would I do that? Do you realize black gay men have one of the highest suicide rates in America?
Because of speech like what you
No.
community.
If what you say is
Shame
true,
and silence is
listen,
why
you're
people
being
don't
emotional,
come
my
out.
queen.
What about before he was even born?
Listen.
What about before he was even born?
Thank you, sir. Thank
Well,
you.
okay, what about 100 years ago, 200 years ago?
What about it?
There's no argument.
I'm asking you, I mean, but you said him.
Exactly.
So what about what was going on before he was born?
He inherited it and he decided to continue the
How?
conversation.
Listen. My queen, stay with me. It is a political fact for anyone with common sense. It is a political fact for anyone with common sense. Dr. King was assassinated in 1968. Black Panther Party was destabilized in 1972. Homosexuality became normal in 1974. It is a political fact that homosexuality was declassified as an illness so it could be used to take over the black civil rights struggle. LBGT is what they call the new black. We know it's not black, but they're using it to ignore the black agenda in deference of the LBGT agenda. It is the only minority issue that matters in this country. Now, let me ask you a question, my queen. Since we're talking about freedom of speech and people's rights and looking out for those who are being oppressed and denied their opportunity, where the hell was the LBGT movement when Michael Brown was murdered? Where the hell Where was y'all? Y'all don't speak out against what goes on with black folks.
Answer that for you.
No, y'all don't.
In Ferguson, I started an organization here, and maybe
You're talking about you. I'm talking about that movement.
Guess what? The three women that started Black Lives Matter, both Patrice and Alicia, are queer black women, and they are
You're
making
talking
sure.
about individuals.
I am talking
I'm
about three
your
women.
population.
I am talking about three
They
women
do
that started
not
this movement.
speak out against white
Yes,
supremacy.
they do.
And the
Yes,
reason
they do.
LBGT does
You're
not, I'm not talking
incorrect.
about you as an individual,
I
but the
am
reason
you are
why
incorrect.
the LBGT movement does not speak out against white supremacy is
You want
because
it
they
back?
are a part of it. Here's my number 4.
Bismillah, wa salatu wa salam wa rasulullah wa ba'd. In the name of Allah, and the peace and blessings of Allah be upon his last and final messenger. As to what follows, family, friends, foes, haters, and hateettes, welcome back to the features. I greet you all in peace and love and no hatred of my heart in my heart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So before we begin, please like, please subscribe, please share, and hit me up on Patreon. As you know, we got a lot of haters up in here. And also, I want to give my salams to my brother, Walid Mujahid. Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair. May Allah reward you and multiply it for you 1,000-fold and forgive your sins. And everybody say Ameen. And let's get into this most important topic. Now, I led off with Dr. Omar Johnson, and y'all know what I think about him anyways, right? Right? I'm not a fan of Dr. Omar Johnson. I believe he's a charlatan. However, in this case, he was spot on, and he did excellent work. And everything he said is 100% true. 100% true. And not only is it not 100% true, there has been a push to emasculate the black man for a better part of like almost 100 years now. And we covered this topic previously with Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood and her thoughts of homosexuality and whatnot. And there is another enemy arising against black men that is being heavily funded, and not only heavily funded, but heavily supported and pushed in the black community, just in the same style, in the same method that the black woman was weaponized against the black man, and that is the gay black man. The gay black man, or the queer black man, who is now openly coming out against straight black men. And they are not just coming out against straight black men, but they're coming out with a whole bunch of epithets and lies and revisionist history and all kind of crazy stuff. Because again, these groups, these type of groups like BLM, as the brothers Psych for Press, from a BLM funded by Soros, real BLM is grassroots. Black Lives Matter, right? Actually, let me just pull it out for you, because maybe you guys, some of you all think it's cap, and it's not cap, it's real. So let me just pull it up for you one time so you can see this for your own selves, right? So, but anyways, BLM was heavily supported by hostile elements, historical hostile elements to the black community. Y'all hearing me? And really, I led off with what Dr. Omar Johnson with what he was saying, because not only is it true and it's spot on, and it couldn't have been said better, but we as Muslims, we have kind of lost our way in understanding why we do things. You understand? Like, what do you mean? At the forefront of the emasculation of black men rather, and black boys, is this aggressive push for godlessness and following one's desires. And this is not an accident. This is not something that happened organically, but rather it is something that, from the tactics of the enemy, in order to make us think that this is an organic movement within the black community that is serving the black community, when it doesn't even serve the black community at all, nor does it serve black families, nor does it serve any type of tangible gains for black folk. Meanwhile, we as Muslims, we are seeing all of this happening right before our eyes. And all we hear is the Islamic ruling on homosexuality. And we don't look at it in terms of warfare. You feel me? We don't look at it in terms of an actual strategy of an enemy, of the enemy, to try to destabilize the black family and the black family unit, black nuclear family unit, and also restrict black men's progression to a snail's pace, so much so that black men will forever be on the bottom of the social economic ladder. Right? So just let me pull this up for you. 1 second. So you can see for yourself. For those of you who know about the historical push for these LGBTQ ideas and whatnot in the Western context, right? We're talking about in the Western context. This push really gained traction with Aleister Crowley. Do you guys know who Aleister Crowley is? Aleister Crowley, y'all. You know who he is? He is the self-proclaimed wickedest man on earth. You understand? He is a self-proclaimed wickedest man on earth. And he is the one who coined this phrase, do as thou wilt. But one of his ideas was the promotion of homosexuality, right? Ain't nothing happened to him. He was an open, blatant Satan worshiper, a blatant Satan worshiper. And not was he just open and blatant with Satan worship and witchcraft. He wrote grimoires and magical grimoires and whatnot. And your Western elite ate it up. They ate it up. So much so that much of his writings ended up in pop culture, including songs from the Beatles and whatnot, having his pictures on people's albums and whatnot. You understand? So now you have people like him, and then you have people like Margaret Sanger, who legit said that black people, we have to take out the weeds. She's talking about black people. How are we going to take out the weeds? We're going to get them to believe that if they have children, they're going to be impoverished. So we're going to get them to accept abortion and stuff. Y'all hearing me? So anyways, I want to show you guys something about Black Lives Matter, right? Because this thing gets really, really, really deep. So over here, Politico reported that in 2015, the Democracy Alliance, a gathering of the Democratic Party donors, planned to meet with the leaders of several groups who were endorsing Black Lives Matter movement. According to Politico and Solidar, a donor coalition focusing on movement building and led by a Texas oil fortune heir, Leah Hunt Hendricks, a member of the Democracy Alliance, had donated more than $200,000 to the BLM movement in 2015. Okay. According to The Economist, between May 2020 and December 2020, donations to Black Lives Matter related causes amounted to $10.6 billion. $10.6 billion. Now, in the beginning of this talk, we played the clip from Dr. Omar Johnson, and that woman explicitly said, I believe her name was Patrice O'Neill or something like that, and the founders of the BLM, she said that they were queer Black women. You're all understanding me. They were queer black women, and they are there in the struggle for black folk. $10.6 billion. Do you know what it says? I'm not sure if it says that anymore, but you know what it says on the Black Lives Matter website about black men and matriarchy and the nuclear family? Do you know what they say about black people? And this is how the enemy operates. They operate just like this. This is from their old tactics, and all they do is they modify their tactics. So black people are used to fighting other people's wars and for other people's causes and putting themselves on the back burner. And because black people have this long history of doing this, because, you know, we got to fight for everybody. Yeah, sorry, producer knows the comedian passed away. My bad. Just okay. Yeah. I can't remember her name. But anyways, but because black people do this all the time, we are consistently being taken advantage of. Consistently being taken advantage of. So you can have people who are pretending like they're about black causes, making $10.6 billion off of black donations, and then using that same money to buy homes and houses for themselves and put not one red penny back into the black community. So as Muslims now, when you see this, all this is going on, all this is happening right in front of you. When you see this happening, what we need to do as Muslims is we need to reflect on how are we helping our own situation. Are we legit using the Quran and the Sunnah in order to make the lives of people better in our communities? Are we allowing these pretenders and these shapeshifters to come into our community, rip us off because we are just too afraid to confront them or to oppose them, even with our mouths? Because we don't want to be stigmatized like that. So we practice cowardice over chivalry. And furthermore, we have reached a time where the Muslim children now have accepted these types of ideas because they've grown up and they've went through the public school system, and now traditional Islamic ideology is now looked at as something as these old archaic ideas, and we have to accept this new enlightened train of thought. You understand? So now, because of subversion, what we have is another attack, another group, another enemy from inside the black community that is gaining traction and gaining voice and gaining funding. And that is the Black LGBTQ and their cohorts. Mind you, throughout the black struggle, throughout history, the black struggle has always been seen as that, like the black struggle. It wasn't until recent years that we have this push to intersectionalize the Black struggle with the LGBTQ struggle. This is something new. These are new tactics now. You understand? What I want to show you now is I want to show you guys something, because I think a lot of you will be shocked by this. But again, when it comes to the enemy, many of us really have no clue how devious these people really are. They are truly satanic, and I mean truly satanic. But I want to show y'all something, inshallah. All right, so just hold on. Let me just share the screen with you. Let me take this out. Like, subscribe, share. Hit me up on Patreon. Now, this is real. Okay? Military proposed gay bond. Watch now.
The Pentagon confirmed to CBS 5 today military leaders once proposed building a so-called gay bomb, a chemical weapon that could be dropped on enemy troops to make them sexually irresistible to each other. Here's CBS 5 political editor Hank Plant. Hank?
Well, Alan, it was an Air Force lab that proposed this to the Pentagon officials, and it was a Berkeley-based watchdog group that found out about this strange idea for a weapon. Edward Hammond of Berkeley's Sunshine Project tracks military spending. He used the Freedom of Information Act to obtain this proposal from the Air Force's Wright Laboratory to build what's been called a gay bomb. The weapons proposal says one distasteful but completely non-lethal example would be strong aphrodisiacs, especially if the chemical also caused homosexual behavior.
The Ohio Air Force Lab proposed that a bomb be developed that contained a chemical that would cause enemy soldiers to become gay and to have their units break down because all the soldiers became irresistibly attracted to one another.
The Air Force...
Did y'all hear that? Because some of y'all, I think maybe some of y'all thought it was cap last time I told you about this. You know what I mean? But that was, I believe it was CBS News, a legit CBS News article back in the 80s or whatever. Or no, sorry, not the 80s, 2007. All right? And this is from military.com, okay? The way that the enemy thinks, they will weaponize anything. They weaponize music. They weaponize drugs. Y'all know about the cocoa. They weaponize that. And they have a history of weaponizing viruses, mind you. A long history of doing that. They weaponize food. They weaponize economics. And even trying to weaponize sexuality. Y'all hearing me? Not to mention about the study that was done in Kenya. And let me just pull the study. I got to keep reminding you about this, the study, right? About the study that was done in Kenya, studying masculinity. Let me just pull it up. Just trying to find it here for you. Okay. They tend to release information well after they already did their dirt. Yes, because of the Freedom of Information Act. What you guys got to understand, what's the Freedom of Information Act? The Freedom of Information Act is basically what it is. It's an allowance for these agencies like the military or the secret service agencies like the CIA, FBI. They're basically allowed to do anything that they want, essentially, as long as they release the information of what they did 25 years later. So if they propose this, you better believe they've been doing it. Y'all hearing me? That's how we get all this information about, who assassinated MLK and Malcolm X, all this kind of their involvement and whatnot. Because 25 years out, when the dirt's already done and the players have retired and are dead or whatnot, then they release the information. Freedom of Information Act. And they tell you about how devilish they are. So anyways, the alt-right is mad about 600,000 Trump program in Kenya linking violent extremism to masculinity. One second, y'all. One second. The 2-year, $600,000 program says expectations of Kenyan men to be tough, heterosexual, aggressive, unemotional, and achieving are exploited by groups. Which groups? Extremist groups, according to the U.S. government. You understand? So what they're really trying to tell you is that they don't want you black folks or you Muslims to be tough, heterosexual, aggressive, unemotional, and achieving. Just like their men are tough, heterosexual, aggressive, unemotional, and achieving. They don't want that for you, though. They don't want that for you. So what we have here is we have a history dating back at least over 100 years of this incremental push for homosexuality, starting with just a general idea and then making it specific to the black community and then funding it, heavily funding it in the black community so that black people can accept it. And as we said many times before on this channel, the black struggle is the Muslim struggle. We showed time and time again that these tactics that have been used and weaponized against black folk, eventually it hits the other darker people on the earth, particularly Muslims, with the same tactics. So now you see the rise of the queer mosque, and I saw somebody sent me about some transsexual matrimonial service for Muslims or something like that. I can't. It was like one of the strangest things I've seen in my life. But again, these guys, they're thinking. They're not thinking about us. They're not thinking about old schoolers like us. They're thinking about our kids. You understand? Because of subversion. If you are sending your children to the schools of the enemy, then the enemy has your children for 8 hours a day, which means they have 8 hours to indoctrinate your children while you working hard at work and coming home and eating dinner and watching TV and don't have time to find out what your kids are doing. So by the time your kid is out of high school, it's too late because those ideas are firmly planted and inceptualized in their minds. And now that's why you have young Muslims today who feel like the ideas of Islam against homosexuality are archaic. Just like black people today feel like how homosexuality is a part of the black struggle. When did homosexuality become a part of the black struggle? It became a part of the black struggle during the Obama administration. He was the only guy who could do it. He did nothing for black people, and a whole hell of a lot for the LGBTQs. But I digress, because now, family, we are talking about the emasculating of our boys, the emasculating of black boys. We've seen the studies, right? We've seen that the federal government puts money into it. We've seen that the military have tried to make it into a science. We've seen how this is not a new idea. This is an idea that has been for a better part of 100 years. We've seen how homosexuality was considered a mental illness up until 1974. Okay. And we see the degradation of masculine imagery in black culture. So the imagery that we had in the 90s and whatnot of what a masculine person is dead. And now we have these homoerotic rappers, all skinny and stuff, wearing low-cut pants, even dresses and whatnot. And even one of these dudes is twerking on men, dancing naked with men and kissing men on stage and everything. This is what we got now. So we understand the point of the enemy pushing this, right? We only deal with receipts here. I gave you all the receipts, okay? We understand that, yes, the enemy wants this for us because they understand how to weaponize wicked things. They know how to do it. And now the new enemy to black society is rising. The voice of the black queer male or the black homosexual male, and how they are coming directly attacking black straight men directly, not in an indirect way, but in a direct way. So what is the solution for us as Muslims? Because we are clearly way behind the ball, like way behind. You're talking about people who plan 20, 30, 40 years in advance before they and by the time we wake up, it's too late. You understand? By the time we wake up, it is way too late. So I want to get this hadith for you before we continue. Anybody can jump on now because we're going to talk about some solutions for us, right? And we talked about many times about gender roles on this channel and how single parenthood is incredibly destructive, and it produces these type of these breakdowns in our community. Single motherhood, the breakdown of marriage, and black feminism and whatnot, and the acceptance of these ideas, right, are incredibly destructive. And we have a long resume of the destructiveness of black feminism, welfare, these type of things, right? If you have to depend on your enemy to provide for you, you know you're in trouble. You're in really bad shape, right? But I'm gonna get some hadith, right? Let me just get this up for you. 1 second. Okay, this is from the Prophet ﷺ. Okay. So don't forget this hadith. Okay, So this is from Bukhari. Okay. Narrated from Salama. Radiallahu anha. Okay. The Prophet came to me while there was an effeminate man sitting with me. Okay. This is Sahih Bukhari. Okay. And I heard him, the effeminate man, saying to Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah, "Oh, Abdullah, see if Allah should make you conquer Ta'if tomorrow, then take the daughter of Ghaylan in marriage, as she is so beautiful and fat, because back in those days I like fat women, right? To take the daughter of Ghaylan in marriage, and she is so beautiful and fat that she shows 4 folds of flesh. When you have those folds of fat, right? When facing you, and 8 when she turns her back." And then the Prophet said, "These effeminate men, okay? These effeminate men should never enter upon you." Are you hearing this? Who's you? The woman. Do you know a society today that not only has these effeminate men, but the women have embraced them and called them to defend these women? Are you catching this? See, this is why Islam is the solution for everything. Maybe some of y'all never even heard of this hadith before. I remember I remember the first time I read this hadith, it was like many, many years ago, right? Even before I got married. It was so long ago, and it just stuck in my head from the first time I saw this hadith. I never forgot this hadith, right? Because it's just the wording and everything. Ibn Jurayj said the effeminate man was called a hit, right? That was his name. Narrated Hisham, the above narration, and added extra at that time. So the Prophet was besieging Ta'if, right? So the besieging of Ta'if was extra in this other hadith, right? But anyways, the whole point is from the advice of the Messenger of Allah, is that these effeminate men should not enter upon you, or meaning not even to go into the houses. Right here is what it says: "La yadkhulunna haula alaykunna." All right, so he's talking to the women, like, don't let them enter upon you. Alaykunna, like the woman. Alaykunna, the kunya is the muannath, the feminine usage. So don't let them come into your homes. That's what he means. La yadkhulunna, but don't let them come inside your house. I want y'all to think about this just for a few seconds now. Because I know, especially if the black brothers and the sisters who are reading this for the first time, they're probably losing their minds right now. Because we know our people, okay? We know our people. We've seen the destruction of single motherhood in our community. And we know that there are a lot of single mothers raising these effeminate men. He didn't say homosexual, okay? He didn't say queer. He didn't say any of that. He just said effeminate. Y'all hearing me? This is the messenger of Allah, sallallahu. So what about the dude that comes in the house and he's wearing a dress, or he's wearing makeup, or you know what I'm saying? He got a wig on. He got nails. He's doing his nails. That's why I led in the beginning that this emasculation of black men, it can't work without godlessness. It can't. You have to have godlessness first. You have to have a push for following your own desires first. And then you can push for this type of emasculation. So how do you achieve godlessness without calling it godlessness? What do? You tell the black woman that she doesn't need her man and she can do it all on her own and the government will support you. And then when she thinks that she can do it all on her own, she tries to raise a man and she ends up raising a mannish thing, but it's not a man. Someone that will come and defend her no matter what, whether she's right or whether she's wrong. And watches chick flicks with mom and stuff. And does the cooking and does the chores with the mom and stuff. Because a woman can't raise a man. I'm sorry to say it like that. Women do not know how to raise men. I'm sorry. You need a man to raise another man. I want you to stew on that hadith for a little bit. See, we already know about these other hadiths, right? We already know about this. You know, for example, the Prophet ﷺ said he cursed the effeminate men. Okay, the mukannith. You know, they're called in Arabic it's mukannith, and the women who imitated men. And he said, put them out of your houses, and put so and so out. That's the part that we're missing here. Why haven't we heard about this? The Prophet ﷺ said to put them out of your houses. That is to say, the effeminate men. Kick them out. Is this hate speech? I'm asking, is this hate speech? Mind you, we didn't talk about the homosexual. We didn't talk about the bisexuals, the queers, and we didn't talk about them. We just talked about the effeminate man, the mukannith. Y'all hearing me? If you have a community, like a functioning community, then the community members should be leaning on each other and supporting each other, correct? It's not enough to say that we want our families to be structured and nuclear. That's not enough. Because marriage is something that you work on, you work hard on. And there are distinct roles in marriage. And we are living in a society that not only doesn't respect marriage, but the laws in the West favor the women when it comes to the breakup of marriage. So when the woman takes her soon-to-be ex-husband in court, the ex-husband lawyer get paid, the ex-wife lawyer get paid, the judge get paid, and what does the man get? What does the man get? And children who have grown up, now that these children have, they were born in the 90s and whatnot, in the 2000s, and they've seen the destruction of these families. How do you think that they're viewing marriage today? You think they got positive ideas about marriage? This is the godlessness. This is the following one's desires over that which has been revealed. It's so easy to talk about Allah's curse about this and Allah's curse about that and whatnot. And we hear a lot of this, but we don't really hear so much about solutions to the problems in our communities. You understand? The Prophet ﷺ, he gave a real solution to a real problem. Because empowering these types, we are now seeing the devastation of empowering these types. Y'all hearing me? All kinds of crazy lies that these people say. Like, if you go on, for example, the BLM or any of these cables that they have, these funded cables for Black LGBTQ and whatnot, they have these punchlines. They talk about the violence against queers and the violence against trannies and the violence, all this violence. And we appreciate you talking about the violence in those even you can't really call them communities or whatever. It's like behavior, you know what I'm saying? Like it's weird. It's like you're talking about behavior now, but okay, we'll give you that. You're a community. Okay, we'll give you that. When you take a deep dive into who are the actual perpetrators of this violence, do you know who's the it's like insane. It's totally insane what's going on, man. They're talking about the violence against queers. Who are these people perpetuating the violence against these queers and the LGBTs? You know who it is? It's the same community that they're trying to defend. Is the same community that's killing them up. Who's Jeffrey Dahmer? Like, look at all these serial killers. Like, is this cap? Go look for yourselves, man. And the violence that happens to them is mostly within their own community. And the violence with trannies, the transsexuals and stuff, a lot of that is because of nefarious things they do with straight men. Okay, let's call it what it is. And they even have advisory sites on how to trick straight men into making zina with you if you're transsexual and stuff. And then you don't expect any violence out of that. This is nuts. It's totally nuts. It is totally nuts. So our boys now are under attack from so many different angles, okay? They're under attack at schools. They're under attack from the government. They're under attack at home from their moms. They're under attack from not having a father in the houses. They're under attack from their friends. You know what I mean? Because now they got to be raised by the streets, and they need to be talking about that. I grew up in the streets and whatnot. Read some of the stories of these rappers that they put in front of you, man. It's insane. I don't think I know a single rapper, except for maybe Kanye, right? That came from a 2-parent home. These from the new ones, anyways. You understand? And now there's a new attack from the same LGBT community that's talking about, yeah, we're part of the black circle too. Now they're attacking the black man. Directly. No, not indirect. Directly. So in Islam, the solution is, right, obviously keeping a nuclear family together, right? Particularly, we talk about this all the time, and we say all the time that our sisters, our women, they need to leave this black feminism alone because it's incredibly destructive. And our men need to practice a hell of a lot more unity with each other and become independent of this entire system. You understand? If you are married and you have children already, then your one priority should be focusing on the education of your children. Even if you have to do without, that should be your number one priority. You understand? Because that is the real investment. But anyways, I'm leaving a link. This is a family gathering, so I want some brothers and sisters to participate and jump on here as a community meeting. I think this is a pretty important topic, right? Let me just get you some of the stuff I've seen. Like even I'm very shy to put it up, to be honest. Like if I put some of this stuff up, like that's why I didn't, because I was getting sent stuff and I was like, what is this craziness, right? What is this madness? Now the members of the LGBTQ community want to tell us how to have our family structures. You see what I'm saying? And that our society should be matriarchal and whatnot. The effeminate man, okay? Our society should be matriarchal because black men don't do anything and blah, 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 and violence and blah, 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 blah. You understand? But when you look at the actual facts, the actual hard data, it's saying something completely different. So 1 second, let me just get something else up in here. So we saw that one. One second, y'all. Oh, we put that one up already. Okay, we can delete that.
Wa alaikum salam. Barakatuh.
What you
One
got for us?
thing with this Black Lives Matters,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like the head woman that bought all them houses,
Mm-hmm.
you know, her mom married one of the biggest fitna makers.
Who is that?
That lady that bought all them homes from Black Lives Matters, her mom married one of them Karzenians.
Kardashians or whatever?
Karzenians.
Karzenians? Or what you
The
mean, like
Jewish
the
race.
Jewish?
Yeah, Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and there's a video out with the Black Lives Matters woman in an interview, and they said they had a 4-pronged deal for the country. First of all, they said they wanted to put foreign black women and transsexuals in charge of the black community. Then they said they wanted to make deals with criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Then they said they wanted to teach that homosexual stuff to kids. Now, Hakikachu, on one of his newsletters said that Black Lives Matters was in the public schools teaching that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a gay agenda, and the biggest fitna makers are always behind this stuff against Negroes.
Well, I want to read something from the Black Lives Matter website. First of all, Daniel, since you mentioned it, we got to understand why he's attacking Black Lives Matter. It's not because of LGBTQ or anything like that. And I say it all the time on this channel. The reason why he does it has nothing to do with Islam or anything like that. He is an alt-righter. He's taken an alt-right position, so he's pushing the alt-right position, and all he's trying to do is be the Islamic representative to the alt-right. That's it. Ain't got nothing to do with anything else but that. You understand? So, but if you look at whatchamacallit, you remember Jussie Smollett?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna read something for you from the website. Give me 1 second again. Let me just pull it up here so you guys see I'm not making this up. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, so this is from the Black Lives Matter website. Okay, this is what they do. Okay, statement regarding on the ongoing trial of Jussie Smollett. Okay, below is a statement from Dr. Melina Abdullah, director of Black BLM grassroots co-founder and whatever. The abolitionist, we approach situations of injustice. 1 second. And there is some sound in your end there, bro. Okay. Because we got us. Let's be clear. We love everybody in our community. It's not about look what it says. It's not about a trial or a verdict decided in a white supremacist charade. It's about how we treat our community when corrupt systems are working to devalue their lives. In an abolitionist society, this trial will not be taking place. Are you catching this? Are you catching this? Y'all catching this? And our communities would not have to fight and suffer to prove our worth. Instead, we find ourselves once again being forced to put our lives and value in the hands of judges and juries operating in a system that is designed to oppress us while continuing to face a corrupt and violent police department, which has proven time and time again to have no respect for our life. This is the Black Lives Matter official website. Okay? So you can see it's not capped.
You
understand?
So
you understand? So this is the Black Lives Matter official website. They're saying this, basically defending Jussie Smollett. They're saying they're defending Jussie Smollett, and not only they're defending Jussie Smollett, but they pitch it in such a way that he shouldn't even be on trial to begin with. And what did Jussie Smollett do, people? What did he do? He tried to stage a racist or homophobic attack on himself and got caught. They didn't call it out. They had no work for him. You understand? They didn't even see him as somebody who was essentially devaluing their cause. They didn't see it like that. They saw him as the oppressed. Y'all understanding me? And they pitched it exactly like that. These are the people that want to tell us about the the patriarchy, the black patriarchy, and the destruction of the black nuclear family and blah 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 blah. Black Lives Matter, y'all. Black Lives Matter, okay? Look at this. We affirm the lives of black, queer, and trans folks, disabled folks, undocumented folks, and record of women and all black lives and gender on the gender spectrum. This is not a black group. And they got the most funding. The most funding. And you have to understand that had it been a grassroots black group, they would not be getting funding like that. Because any grassroots black group always historically gets derailed. This is the enemy's group. You feel me? This is the enemy's organization. So we always have to make a distinction between the Black Lives Matter organization and Black Lives Matter, the grassroots protesters. They're not the same people. And because the hashtag Black Lives Matter was used on the grassroots, that does not mean that the grassroots affiliates themselves with them. And as a matter of fact, I mentioned during the George Floyd protest, we didn't see Black Lives Matter, the group, the organization, until about 3 months afterwards. And what were they doing? What were they doing in New York? They organized, I think, like they said on the news, were like 15,000 trans people all dressed in white. And that's it. That's what they did. $10.6 billion, and that's what they did. Y'all play too much. You have so many people trying to destroy your families. It's you who have to keep your families together. And as long as you are investing into your indoctrination, then you're just going to keep destroying yourselves. This is insane. That is totally nuts, man. But anyways, looks like y'all are real quiet today, so I'll call it a night, inshallah. Like, subscribe, share. Hit me up on Patreon. I'd like to thank everybody for participating, inshallah. BLM has no place alongside the movement. Of course not. Of course not. I mean, and honestly, after 400 plus years of this stuff, the excuses are getting less and less and less and less. And we have to understand that we're not getting out of this situation without Allah. It's not happening. And if we want Allah on our side, we better get used to practicing the Sunnah. As simple as that. You know, practicing what is revealed to us in the Quran and the authentic Sunnah. If you don't do that, or if you choose not to do that, then you deserve to be destroyed as much as Allah wills. And what do you want me to say after that? If Allah has given you the blueprint, and not just giving you the blueprint, He sent you a messenger and a message that He promised Himself from the seventh heaven that He's going to preserve until Yom Al-Qiyamah for success in any and all situations, whether individual or family or community. He's giving you that blueprint for success, and you insist on not following it, thinking your solutions are better than what Allah has revealed, then you deserve the humiliation as much as Allah wills. So once we decided as a community to come together under the guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah, like real guidance, not just they're not theory, like application, like what I mentioned with that hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ, he himself said to kick out, not to let the effeminate man in your homes. Don't let them in your homes. And we know in the Black community, I don't think anybody practiced that. Not in the Black community. We know people. Come on. We know our people. I don't think any black person practiced that hadith. And now we have the same effeminate group uniting and wagging their finger not at the enemy's face, in our faces, the Black man's faces. And these are the costs of inaction. You understand? But anyways, Jazakumullah khair, ikhwan wa akhwat. Thanks for joining me tonight. I greet you. I came to you in peace, and I leave you all in peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.